In the bustling town of Olaranwa, Sunday mornings were always alive with the rhythm of church bells, crisp clothes freshly ironed, and voices lifted in songs of praise. Among the worshippers was Mr. Adewale Ajoni, a respected carpenter known for his compassionate heart and quiet smiles. He lived in a modest house with his wife, Funmi, and their 2 children, Tolu, their only son, and Adizwa, the little sister he adored. On this particular Sunday, as worshippers hurried into the church, Adewale noticed something unusual. A woman, exhausted and dusty, sat at the gate with 2 young children beside her. Their clothes were torn and their eyes hollow. Many passed by, sparing only brief glances or tossing small coins into the woman's worn-out bowl. As the service ended, Adewale felt a tug on his spirit. He approached her, and she raised a photograph of another child, frail, lying on what seemed like a hospital bed. "Please sir," she whispered, "my child is sick in Afrin City. I came here hoping someone would help me return to care for him, but nobody sees us." Adewale's heart clenched. For 3 days, she had been at that very spot. He had seen her. Ignoring the puzzled looks from others, he offered her food money. But as he stared at her trembling hands, he heard himself saying words he had not planned. "Come with me. You and your children will have a place to stay, at least for now." The woman's eyes lit up with desperate gratitude. She stood, and the 2 children held her tightly as Adewale led them toward his home. It seemed like a blessing. But some blessings hide their shadows. When Adewale arrived home with the strange woman, Funmi was stunned. She had just finished preparing lunch and was setting the table when she saw 3 extra strangers step into her living room. "My dear, this is Sister Miriam," Adewale said quickly. "She needs a place to stay for a short while. She has a very sick child in another city. I couldn't leave her there." Funmi was a kind woman too, though far more cautious. She stared into the woman's eyes, a stare that held both fear and warmth, as if hiding storm clouds behind a gentle sky. Still, Funmi chose hospitality. "Welcome," she said, though slowly. "You and the children can eat first." For days that became weeks, they fed Miriam and her 2 children. She kept mostly to herself, rarely speaking except to thank them over and over. She prayed loudly at night, prayers that sounded less like pleas and more like murmurs of ancient words no one fully understood. Yet Adewale thought nothing of it. He believed goodness comes back around. But Funmi began to notice odd things. Sometimes she would enter the room and find Miriam staring at Tolu in silence. Sometimes the children woke crying after Miriam had comforted them. And always, Miriam refused to talk about when she would be leaving. One evening at dinner, Funmi asked gently, "Sister, when do you plan to return to your city?" Miriam hesitated, then forced a smile. 3 days. I will leave in 3 days. But in her eyes, Funmi saw a story that did not match the words. 2 days before Miriam's departure, a strange request came. She sat in the kitchen with a bowl of food and called out to Tolu, "Come and eat with Auntie, my son." Tolu shook his head. "Mom said I should eat with Adizwa inside." Funmi immediately stepped forward. "He cannot eat that now, I have already served him." Miriam's smile twitched. "Oh, sister. I have been eating your food since I came. Is it wrong for your son to share mine, just for once? Let the children eat with me, his sister is here already." Indeed, Miriam's 2 children were already eating with Adizwa. Funmi felt an uneasy chill sweep through the air. "No," she said firmly. "Eat your food. My children will eat theirs." Miriam chuckled lightly, but her eyes darkened, a flicker of something ancient and unsettling. That night, Funmi prayed quietly. She didn't understand why the request troubled her, but she trusted her instincts. The next morning, the woman was gone. She left before dawn, without goodbye, without thanks, leaving behind nothing but the bowl she used at dinner. Adewale stood in the doorway confused. Funmi stood in the same doorway, afraid. She had a feeling they had not seen the last of this woman. 2 days later, the real nightmare began. Adizwa woke up crying, her legs swollen like air had been pumped into them. By evening, Tolu's face had ballooned so suddenly he could hardly open his eyes. Fever burned through their bodies, but doctors found nothing wrong. No infection. No allergy. No trace of poison. Yet they continued to swell, painfully, frighteningly, as if an unseen hand tightened the curse around them. Adewale was broken. He walked the living room at night, crying, "Oh God, why did helping someone turn into this?" Funmi barely ate, barely slept. She sat at the edge of their bed, laying hands on her children, repeating prayers through tears. Neighbors whispered behind their backs. They took a stranger in, who knows who she was? Why would a mother with a sick child abandon the ones she brought? Some kindnesses come with danger. Within a week, the swelling grew worse. The children struggled to breathe. Adewale lifted Tolu in his arms, rushing from one hospital to another, all failed them. Then one night, Funmi dreamt. She saw Mariam sitting in their kitchen again, but this time her eyes glowed red, and her voice hissed. "The same kindness that saved you will destroy you." When she screamed awake, Adewale held her, trembling, because he, too, had dreamed the exact same thing. Only in his dream. Mariam was laughing. From that moment, their journey home became a battleground of prayer. Every night, Adewale knelt beside his children, shouting to heaven, "Lord, the good I did shall not kill me. This charity shall not bury my children." Funmi, exhausted but determined, fasted and prayed. "Whatever evil this stranger brought, Lord, send it back." Their pastor visited, anointed the children, and declared, "Some angels disguise themselves as strangers. But so do some demons." For 2 weeks, the children ballooned like drums beaten by invisible fists. But on the 15th day, Funmi noticed something: the swelling had stopped increasing. On the 18th day, Tolu whispered for the first time in a week, "Mama, water." On the 20th day, Adizwa smiled weakly in her sleep. Relief flooded the parents' hearts like rain after drought. Slowly, almost unnoticeably, the swelling began to shrink. Skin returned to normal. Fever calmed. Bones relaxed. And on the 23rd day, both children walked again. Doctors called it medical confusion. Funmi called it God's deliverance. Adewale called it a lesson. Not every needy face is innocent. Not every helper carries mercy. But the true revelation was still hidden, waiting quietly, like a snake in tall grass. 6 months passed. Peace returned. Laughter filled their home again. The children played outside like nothing had ever happened. One Sunday morning, the church bell rang, and Adewale stepped out with fresh confidence. But as he approached the church gate, he froze, as though lightning had struck him still. There she was. Mariam. Sitting in front of the same church. Holding a different photograph. Surrounded by different children. "Please help me," she cried to passers-by. "My child is dying in another city." Adewale's blood turned hot. He marched toward her. "Madam, I know you," he shouted. "You stayed in my house. You almost killed my children." Mariam stared at him blankly. "Sir, I have never seen you before. I don't know you." Adewale tried to point at her children, but they looked different. Smaller. Weaker. Sickly. The same story, different faces. "You won't fool another family," he roared. Worshippers gathered. Some looked shocked. Others whispered. Before he could call for church elders, someone tapped his shoulder. It was the usher. "Brother Adewale, service has started. Come inside." Adewale turned for only a moment. And when he turned back, she was gone. Vanished. No trace. No footsteps. No children. It was as though she dissolved into thin air. After the confrontation, Adewale could not pray properly. His heart was torn between fear and anger. Who was she? Where did she come from? Why did she target him? Later that night, a strange wind howled outside their home. Curtains swayed, the windows were shut. As Funmi lay asleep, Adewale remained awake, watching shadows dance on the wall. Just as he drifted towards sleep, he heard a whisper, not loud, but near his ear. Sawakiri, Sawakiri. Words he didn't understand, but somehow recognized from nights when Miriam prayed in a language that brought chills instead of comfort. He sat up, panting. The next night, the same whisper came. And the next. Adewale's spirit was troubled. He visited the pastor again. The pastor sighed deeply. My son, that woman is not just a beggar. Someone sent her. She feeds on kindness, but when goodness remains pure, it becomes a shield. Your charity turned into fire against her intentions. And the fire chased her away. Adewale trembled. So, she wanted to destroy us, but God blocked her. Yes, the pastor replied. And now she hunts for another good heart. Adewale clenched his fist. Not again. Not in his town. He would not let another innocent family suffer. Determined to uncover the truth, Adewale searched for anyone who might have known Miriam before. At the church, an elderly woman overheard him asking questions. She beckoned him to a bench beneath a mango tree and whispered, "You are not the first to take her in. Years ago, a kind family in Keriji town sheltered a woman with 2 sickly children. After a week, all their livestock died. The woman left suddenly. A month later, their youngest daughter's body swelled so much she could no longer walk." Adewale swallowed hard. And what happened to that girl? She never recovered, the woman said sadly. They said it was a spiritual attack. The family moved away. Another man approached, saying that in a different city, a similar woman was taken into a teacher's home. His wife fell ill with mysterious swelling but survived after intense prayer. Different families. Same story. Different children. Same woman. Only one thing remained constant. She always vanished before anyone could stop her. Adewale left the church burning with a single mission: expose her, warn others, and protect the next family she targeted. But darkness was already watching him. And darkness rarely loses easily. That night, Funmi dreamed once again. This time she stood in an open field, with wind roaring and grass bending beneath invisible hands. A silhouette emerged, the shape of Miriam. But when she came closer, her face was not flesh. It was smoke. Eyes burning like dying coal. Mothers protect, the smoke woman spoke. That is why I come. That is why I take. Funmi screamed, "You come to destroy families." No, Miriam hissed. Families destroyed me first. The smoke twisted into a horrifying image, a woman chained, mocked, abandoned by those she once helped. She was once a helper, Funmi heard a voice explain, though she couldn't see who spoke. She once saved others, but betrayal cursed her. Now she wanders, forcing others to taste her pain. Funmi woke gasping for air. A cold sweat soaked her wrapper. Adewale comforted her, then shared what he had discovered from the church members. Funmi stared at him a long time and said quietly, "She is cursed, and she wanted us to continue the curse." "Continue how?" Adewale asked. Funmi shuddered. "By returning evil for good. If we had hated her, if we had cursed her, then her mission would have succeeded. But we prayed instead. We forgave. That was the key." Adewale's eyes widened. Their goodness had protected them, not just prayer. Miriam had chosen the wrong family. With this understanding, Adewale and Fumi met their pastor again. Together, they organized a special meeting at the church, a gathering for anyone willing to listen. There, Adewale told his story publicly, everything. The woman, the swelling, the confrontation, the dream. He wanted people to be discerning but also to keep their hearts pure. If you ever face this woman, he said firmly, do not let anger or fear take over your heart. Kindness is not weakness. It is protection when guided by wisdom. The church prayed collectively for the town's safety. Later that week, posters were created. Beware of a woman posing with different children for help. The ushers shared warnings with other churches nearby. People began to watch closely. They looked beyond tears, beyond desperation, into intentions. The town changed, not into a fearful place, but a wiser one. Word spread far beyond Olaranwa. And somewhere in the shadows, Miriam watched. But she did not approach again. Their goodness had burned her too deeply. Months rolled into a peaceful cycle again. The Ajani family healed completely, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Tolu, now stronger and bold, told his friends, my mom prays fire. Adizwa said, and my daddy's kindness fights. Laughter returned. Normalcy returned. But Adewale remained changed. He never stopped helping people, he only helped with wisdom. He still gave alms, still opened his heart, but never his door without prayer. He often stood before the mirror and repeated to himself, goodness must never be blind. Let it see and still choose love. The story of the cursed helper became a folktale in Olaranwa. Mothers told their children at bedtime, elders shared it at village gatherings, pastors used it during sermons. Its lesson was simple. Do good, but keep your spirit awake. Evil sometimes hides behind the face of need. But goodness, when pure and guided by God, becomes its own weapon. One Harmattan morning, nearly a year later, Adewale returned from a carpentry job in a nearby town. As he approached the bus stop, he noticed a crowd gathered near a palm tree. There she was again, Miriam. Same dusty wrapper. New children at her feet. Same photograph in hand. She lifted her eyes, and for the first time, she recognized him, truly recognized him. Her face twisted with fury. You ruined my mission, she growled under her breath, lips barely moving. You were supposed to curse me. You were supposed to suffer. Adewale's heart thudded, but he did not step back. He looked at her with pity, not hatred. I pray you find peace one day, he whispered. His words made her flinch, as though struck by lightning. Her eyes widened, and then she vanished. Right there. In front of everyone. Gasps erupted. Some people ran. Others fell to their knees crying, Jesus. Adewale stood silently. He knew then that his confrontation, his forgiveness, and his faith had not only saved his household, it had saved many unknown families who would have fallen to her curse. The wind blew strong, carrying dust away. And Adewale walked home, knowing a powerful truth. Goodness is not just kindness. It is protection. A shield sent from heaven. When the heart stays pure. That day, Olaranwa learned, helping others is blessed. But not everyone who asks for help is truly in need. Subscribe to this channel to follow more stories like this.